Welcome to Bridge of Price Sports Talk. We're your host, Jared and TJ. And in this video isn't going to be very long. It's probably going to be one of our shorter videos, but we're going to be discussing the possibility of DeAndre Hopkins to the Baltimore Ravens. And after the Ravens got Odell, it kind of felt, iffy, on whether they would get DeAndre Hopkins, because it felt like that was going to be all that they were going to do, and you couldn't really blame them because they may have went, first round receiver and, called it a day, with Odell, Bateman, and whatever first round receiver they had gotten. So with the new rumors out lately, the first one that came out was this. The first rumor that came out was Lamar Jackson gave the Ravens an ultimatum. He said, "Get me DeAndre Hopkins, get
Right,
me Odell Beckham, and then we'll talk." The
right.
Ravens responded with, "We'll get you one of them, and then let's talk after that." So I don't. There wasn't really anything after that besides the ultimatum, but Justina Anderson debunked that, pretty much saying there was no ultimatum, but he did ask the availability of both of those two. So that's key, because that means that he wants them. I mean, who wouldn't want those two on the team together? That's Super Bowl caliber squad right there just by having those two alone. So
Right.
I guess the fact of the matter is, we've cleared up a lot of cap space. We let Calais Campbell go, and probably not going to sign Marcus Peters back, and just rocking with these all young guys, especially in the defensive line. And you know, the question I have for you is, do you think with DeAndre Hopkins' current contract, and they've already said, Josie Anderson did say that the Ravens are not pursuing DeAndre Hopkins with his current contract, but didn't mean that they're totally out on him at all. They didn't say we're out, we're not interested, we're not going to do it. They don't want him for his current contract. So do you? My question is, I'm going to get to it. Do you think that at the right price, meaning if the Cardinals take on some of their salary, like how the Bears did with Roquan Smith, do you think the Ravens make a trade for him?
Um, I believe so. Who wouldn't want to have DeAndre Hopkins on their team, at I guess you could
Oh,
say this.
one stop real quick. Can you turn your mic up a little bit? I don't know something.
Hear me now?
Just say a little louder.
Hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. As I was saying, who wouldn't want DeAndre Hopkins on their team at sort of like a discounted price, you could say.
Mm,
So, I believe the Ravens would do that. We've seen in the past, they've done similar things like that when it's come to acquiring players from other
right.
teams. So, I think, I'm hoping that it can go that way, and that we can get D Hop that way. And, like we said in previous videos, D Hop, Odell, and just D Hop and Odell alone, I mean, that's a top five receiving core in the
Right.
NFL. I mean, that would be some quarterbacks would probably kill for that, but you know,
Right.
um, I believe so. I believe the Ravens would, exploit that.
I've seen the success of some quarterbacks with multiple receivers who are elite or above average. With Mahomes had Tyreek Hill, he had like Cole Hardman, Tay Watkins. They knew how to implement him very good in the system. Andy Reid knew how to use him, and then even look at the Bengals. With Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and what is his name, T Higgins. So, yeah, I mean, just the success alone from those teams, from all the receivers they've had. The only team that I really hasn't seen it worked out for was the Cardinals. They did make the playoffs, but like just that might be a Kyler Murray issue. I don't know if he's. I don't know if he's. I'm not. I don't watch enough Cardinals game to make the assumption that he's not good enough. But I mean, I guess we'll see.
Hmm.
Um, but he's losing DeAndre Hopkins, whether it's to us or another team. So I think that that's gonna. Isn't it fun like weird how the Cardinals were like 8-0 one point, and now they're looked at as like a really bad team.
Yeah, it's
like
crazy how it can turn around like that. Yeah,
the switch up for that team is kind of crazy. But
yeah,
anyway, trying to figure out something here. Feels like my mic is my mic working correctly?
yeah. I can
Can
hear
you
you
hear me
good.
good?
Yeah,
Okay. I think it's because you don't have your AirPods in.
yeah.
Anyway,
So,
so I would have to agree with you that if it did come at a discounted price, time out before we continue. It feels like 5% of this video is going to be us talking about our mics. We're gonna have to name this video DeAndre Hopkins and mic issues. So anyway, I have to agree with you in that if we do get him at a discounted price, you know, it's right. You got to do it. That's just super. Like I already said, Super Bowl level talent on that team. Odell Beckham already has what you want to call Super Bowl experience. DeAndre Hopkins has some playoff experience, but not much because he did play for the Texans most of his career, and I think he didn't even play the playoff game for the Cardinals because he was either suspended or hurt. Was he hurt or suspended?
I think it
He
was
was hurt.
hurt. Yeah.
Right, I think he got suspended for this year. So anyway, um, my follow up question for this is, if we do get DeAndre Hopkins, do you think Lamar will take that deal that was offered to him in September that is more technically like it looks better than Jalen Hurts' contract?
I think I think 100% he would. I mean, you kind of get the best of both worlds. I mean, you get the Ravens, the Ravens follow up on their word of, you know, already did with getting Odell, but you have D Hop too at that, and you have a great contract. You'll still
Right.
be one of the highest players and paid in NFL ever. And I mean, you go from having, let's just say last month we had Nelson Aguilar. You go from having a bottom a, a middle of the pack bottom tier receiving core. It's like one of the top five receiving cores,
Exactly.
automatic Super Bowl contenders. I feel like he would sign that contract. I mean, I feel
Right.
like there would be no excuse if we were to get D Hop. I mean, there would
Right.
just be no excuses. I mean, D Hop, Odell, Bateman, Andrews, and then the running attack. Jesus.
Exactly.
I mean, there'd just
It's
be no
scary.
excuse, man.
Right.
It would be no excuse. That team has got to at least make the AFC Championship. And I feel like
Right.
Lamar, that would be the perfect challenge for him because we all know Lamar loves to take on challenges and prove people wrong. So,
Yep.
I feel like he would definitely sign that. If it would just be perfect if it went that way. Yeah, you're low key making me daydream about that scenario. It would just be all perfect if it went that way. But yeah, I truly believe he would sign that deal, and
So
it would benefit both sides a lot. Like I always say, I would have some questions on how let's just say if they were to win, let's just say if they were to go to the AFC Championship game and unfortunately lose it, I would have some questions moving forward how we could keep that team together. But I'm
right.
pretty sure they would structure these contracts to make that part easier. So yeah,
I think it's going to be important to keep the team together,
yeah,
because I mean, you can't just Rams this and do it for one season. Like, you want continued success, So,
yeah.
my last question of the video, that'll be it, and then we wrap this up, is if the Ravens wind up going to the playoffs but losing in the first round again, do we need to start having a conversation about Lamar's playoff ability?
Well, it's kind of funny because I'm gonna just compare Lamar to another quarterback here. I kind of compare, in these playoff situations, I kind of compare Lamar to Aaron Rodgers in
Mm-hmm.
the fact that, if you look at all the Packers playoff losses with Aaron Rodgers, a lot of them aren't particularly Aaron Rodgers' fault.
Right.
And so, when I compare, the Ravens playoff losses, I would say that maybe aside from the Chargers game, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these losses aren't really you can really blame on Lamar.
Right.
I mean, if you look at the tape, you could see the effort that he plays. You could see the just the fire in his eyes. He's frustrated when the things don't go wrong. You could see that his heart, that he shows on the field speaks for himself that he was truly trying in these games. And, one part of the ball or one part of the team just failed in a way that was the fatal wound,
Right.
and so I feel like, if it comes to I wouldn't even say if it comes to Lamar having a bad game. I feel like, if this happens like, I don't know, three more seasons in a row, then yes. But I feel like if it were to happen again with these weapons, then I don't feel like Lamar should be looked at because I don't know. I just honestly feel if you give Lamar these weapons, he'll get the job done. And if they can't get the job done, then it wouldn't be on that side of the ball. I mean,
Right.
that's just way too much talent to like at least not get to a championship game,
Right.
and win it. I mean,
Right.
or let alone way too much talent to not get to the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like Lamar wouldn't be looked at. I don't think he should be.
Hmm.
But like I said, it just depends on how the game goes. If it goes like how it's been going, like the Titans game, the defense was getting carved up by Derrick Henry. The Bills game, offensive line let out on Lamar. Just the wind was a big issue in that game as well. I mean, that was just a
Throwing the
really,
ball with the freaking head.
yeah, that was just a really gritty game. So, I don't think Lamar would be looked at.
Right. And I think that, having Odell and possibly D Hop would just make everything so much easier for him, because, the weight of the world was on his shoulders, all these playoff games. Like, I'm a true believer of when it comes to the playoffs, teams don't study for other teams. They study for you and they study you hard,
Right,
so they notice anything, when it comes to any weakness or any flaw that you have, and it like it's blown up. If you have a problem somewhere, it will be exposed. Because if
right,
you remember that 2020 season, the offensive line was kind of garbage. Not garbage, but it wasn't that great after Ronnie Stanley went down. But after that stretch when they lost three in a row, and then they went on a long winning streak to go 11-5, the offensive line shored up. They started playing better, started running the ball better, even throwing the ball a bit better. But in that Titans game, it just like seemed to be thrown on the side. It just seemed to be a lot of pass, protection breakdowns, and run the game was working fine. But and then even the Bills game, just you seemed to just be under pressure, and then the ball was thrown over his damn head like two or three times.
right.
Excuse me. But so yeah, I just think that when it comes, and then even in 2019 with the receivers, when they were dropping everything again, your problems will be, exacerbated, in the
Right.
playoffs. But anyway, I think that should be all in this video unless you have any more, thoughts or questions.
Yeah, and I just like that one more thing, it kind of brings up, you say teams have weaknesses that get exploited. I mean, in this scenario, if we were to lose another playoff game, I mean, we also have to, admit or point out, Todd Monken's offense this season it won't be perfect. It would definitely
Right,
have its weak spots, with this being his first year, so maybe with like, the first half of the season, it might be a little bit of growing pains,
right.
and that might be our weaknesses for this season that teams will look to exploit. So, again, if we do get D Hop and these weapons, more
Hmm.
this weapon, D Hop, I feel like a lot of the blame wouldn't be put on Lamar. I mean, you could definitely maybe put some to Todd Monken. It just like I said, it just depends on how the game would go. But I think that was another good point that you brought up too.
Hmm. And Todd Monken's going to have hopefully an amazing offense if we do get D Hop and Rashawn Lamar. So
Yeah.
I think that when he was in Cleveland, he had. I think before that he was with the Bucks, right?
Hmm.
And what did he have? Mr. Interception, Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
And then in Cleveland, he had Mr. Inconsistent and Baker Mayfield. And he has had great receivers. Mike Evans, and then had Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry. And now if he gets both of them, and then he gets an elite quarterback, it could be scary. But I think that's going to be all in this video today. Um, I think you brought up your last point. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. We have our socials in the bio, so follow those as well. We'll keep you up to date with all Orioles and Ravens news. And I always ask, any more last words?
Hey, just like and subscribe, guys. We're gonna keep it coming.
Yep. So, and we're Birds of Prey, and we're out.
Bro.